Yeah, this is on. This is on.
Oh, it's on.
Live. Live and in color.
Sabi,
There's colors on that screen.
You're freaking me out, man.
Come. Phrasing.
Giggity?
What happened?
That's a Twitter handle.
On the Twitter. Wait, baby, come back.
That wasn't even a real thing.
You can blame it all on me.
I should probably turn this off. All right, it's 1:30.
Yeah, do we want to just on with the show?
Sure.
On with the show.
Hi, people.
Hi, people.
Actually, I have a question for the three of you guys.
Shoot.
What's up, baby?
One of the most interesting games I ever saw come out of Independent Gamer. Coup.
Yes.
I love that game.
Developed in Carnegie Mellon's make a game once every single week.
Yeah.
Just one game every 1 week. Once the developers went out of college, they made that game, and they made lots and lots of fucking money.
Yes, they did.
I haven't seen a lot come out of it. Boy, else. Have you seen any independent gamers come out with a hit and then come out with another good game? And maybe a third.
It's hard to strike gold twice. It's hard to strike gold once.
I'm pretty sure there's an example.
Edward McMullen. He's made.
Oh yeah, Edmund McMillan would be like
McMillan.
a prolific example.
Let's
I guess
see.
I think we're still waiting for kind of like the final tally on things, but it seems like Mike Bithell hit it with Thomas Was Alone, and then looks like Volume's going to do really well. It's out now, and the reviews are really positive. I haven't had a chance to check it out myself.
Yeah. So my thought is like, you went with hit
Come
to
on in, don't
make
be
another
shy.
good game, and there's definitely people that make hits and then make another good game that's not a hit,
Yeah.
where it's just like actually striking that fame thing is really tough to do. But and we were just talking about Philly, like the Cypher Prime guys, they had a hit with was it Pulse? Was their first
I
game?
think so.
And they've made
And then
5 or
that's
6
Slice,
games
too.
now, and every single one of them has done well. That hasn't been necessarily a hit, but it wins an award.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean they've expanded their team to 5, and they own their own studio space in downtown Philly. Like they're good.
It's a good time if you're ever in Philly. Thursday nights, they have Dev Night. You should go check them out.
Yeah.
Boom shakalaka.
Maybe we should circle
Introduce?
back around
Yes.
to introductions.
Hello, audience. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Going Off on Your Own, a panel about going off on your own. I'm Jeremy Greger, and this is...
Phrasing. Are we using that anymore? Going off on your own. Hi. Right. My name's Sean Weiland. I'm formerly from Allentown, Philly area. Now I live in Atlanta.
we're
Co-owner
doing
of Resident
bios.
Phoenix Studios.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Mail NPC. Yeah. What?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Do bios. I'll do mine at the end.
And I'm Jonathan Moriarty. I'm the chair of the Baltimore chapter of the International Game Developers
Oh.
Association.
Super fancy.
I'm part of the sort of local Baltimore indie game developers. I have a day job as a game developer at a larger company that made Neon FM, the rhythm game that's in the console area. If you've had a chance to check
Should
that
check
out.
it
If you haven't,
out.
definitely check it out.
Lots of
it's
pretty
super fun.
colors.
Biased opinion.
Right. All right. We can plug our games.
What?
All right,
Okay.
you cycle back around
Okay,
this
so I'm Jeremy Greger. I co-founder of Luna Wolf Studios, creators of Haberdashery, postcards up here at the end, and also
Fine.
developers of Beacon of Hope on Kickstarter at the end of this
I got
month.
pens.
He has pens. So you can use his pens to write on my things if that's what you want. Look, this is a blank canvas for writing things. Boom. Come on in, sir. Damn. What else do I do? I sell Aflac during the day. Aflac, come.
Right.
Don't be shy. Hi.
Good
Jeez.
night. Sleep well.
Sweet dreams.
Hydrate before you go to sleep.
Hydration is key. And I make video games. This panel, I guess I should start with the spiel I said I was going to do. So way back in the day, last year, I worked for a company that was going good and everything's cool, and I worked for them. And then they decided they were going to run out of money and stop paying me. I had a decision. They're like, you will be first in line to be paid. And I said, but that isn't being paid. And so me and this other guy were like, hey, we're good at things. We can make things that are probably better than what they can make and get 100%. whenever it happens. So we decided we're going to go make our own video games, and thus Luna Wolf Studios was born. And yeah, those are our Twitters. Right, yeah, Twitters. Wow, I have an audience. You guys are amazing.
So,
anyhow.
you founded the studio.
Yeah, so studio happened called Luna Wolf Studios. Business LLC, and I don't know about other states, but Delaware is butt easy. You just fill out a paper, and now you're a business. You give them like $50 or something. So boom.
It's well timed.
So then you become a business, and then that's the easy part. Then you're like, all right, well, what do we make? What do we make? Funny story, the company that ran out of money, the CEO of it has his own money. I was like, hey, there's this game we want made. Beacon of Hope. Will you make it for us? So we're contracted to make that. So as an independent game developer, we have our first contract. And that's a pretty good feeling because you're like, hey, people want to pay us money to make a thing. And so with independent game development, speak on your experience, fellas.
Okay, so I guess kind of branching off from that. Yeah, the decision to go indie is not necessarily the easiest one. For me, it was kind of happenstance. I actually have a master's degree in video game development and project management. And I like starting new businesses. So the first thing I did was start an audio studio after I graduated to do freelance audio. And then I met a guy that started his own studio by himself. And he's like, well, I need help. And he did. He was very terrible at UI. And he was a programmer, not really good with core design.
Art and...
So we combined forces, and we had a company own ours for a while. And it's... I'm really like... There's a lot of themes you can learn from it, but going indie is basically a trial by fire and a lesson in futility.
It's one of those things where
it's because you have to do everything yourself, like everything, things you might not necessarily ever think about being your own company. Like, it's gonna sound stupid, paying payroll taxes is a bitch. It is just annoying.
That's a 3 months from now problem.
It's exterior from the fun thing that you want to do is make games, PR and marketing. I do all that for our company. I did I want to say 300 support emails last week, and that was outside of working on our next game, which we just had our previous game come out a week ago on Steam, and it was just like great. Yeah, awesome. No, it's really cool. I'm excited. If you like tactics games, let me know.
You definitely want to celebrate the victories.
But I want you to respond too. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. So my experience is probably a little different than those guys who sort of already indie doing their own thing as a full-on business. I'm sort of a developer that I have my day job, and I like my day job, and I honestly don't really see a reason to move away from it anytime in the near future. What I do in my spare time is that I'll try and build these games, and so my challenge is more of like the finding the motivation for like a day and a half's worth of work, as many days as I can, weekends, and just trying to be able to still be productive, still be good at my day job, and still do the games that I'm sort of interested in doing on my own in my own time, and that's sort of what I can speak to.
Yee. Continue.
Cool. Continue.
Okay, so so developing games, especially as an indie developer, if your car's on fire and you're broke, you're having a good day. It's one of those things where if you don't give it everything you have, you're going to fail. I 100% guarantee you. Do you guys agree with that?
If you give it everything, you could easily also fail.
Oh yeah. That's also true. But so like you're guaranteed to fail if you don't give it your all. But if you give it your all, because there's an oversaturate. Everybody's doing it, and it's great. Like for the consumer, it's an amazing time. I love being a fan of video games, and just looking out my window and saying, "Oh, look at all these games I can play," and they're all like $3, and it's great, and I can play all of them if I ever have time because I'm too busy making video games. I think that's one of the interesting things about making games is you don't have time to actually play them. Is that?
Oh yeah. When I went into games, one of my grad school professors said you have to play games or you make games, and that's the only reason I still really get a chance to play games is because I freelance write for a couple online like game portals. So I have to play games because because I signed a contract. But it works for
That's
me.
a good
'cause
contract.
For me, it pulls double duty. It gives me experience with other people's games, which you need to know what's going on in the market to kind of be able to shape what you're doing, so that you can fit market tastes. Like, yeah, you want to make the game you want to make, but
You want it to sell.
If you make Cooking Mama now, no one's gonna fucking play it.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, and it might come back around like another 5 years and be like, oh, it's so retro. That's cool. Yeah.
That's so retro.
But no, so you need to do it from that standpoint. But for me, it also works out because I have to email reviewers all the time, and knowing what a reviewer wants to see when you're trying to promote your game is really, really handy. Like our last promo campaign we did, I had a line of GIFs on the side of our press email that actually showed core action points from the game. So like this is like a card being played on the battlefield. This is a power up happening. This is an attack, and this is leveling up, which are most of like 90% of what you do in my game is move, attack, power up, level.
That's what happens.
And it was way more effective. I actually got more responses. Now, responses to a review request are kind of like a survey, so you can expect about a 2% response rate. And we had 4. Like, fuck it, we doubled the average response rate. Yeah.
Take that, averages.
Yeah. So, yeah, actually, I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
That's
No,
good.
I mean, so I find that I still have the time to play games. I mean, definitely not as much as I think other people do. I've sort of given up trying to do MMOs because it's very much something that you try to pick up with a group of friends, and that cycle is one that is sort of like I log on, we're all starting new characters, we're level 1, we get to level 3, we log out for the night, I log in, 4 or 5 days later.
They're all level
everybody's-
like 12.
Yeah,
And you're like,
everybody's
well,
level
guys,
8, 10, whatever.
guys, come back.
You don't want to be the person that's their friends are like power leveling to get them back up so that then you can log off and then show
Yeah.
up like another week. So I tend to play things that you can play bite size. Like I've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm recently since I like MOBAs quite a bit. And I love like Dota or League of Legends, although they have like longer game running times, which is why I lean towards Heroes, because you can play a couple matches and that's a half hour and then you're done, and then you can go do other things.
Rocket League, 6 matches, half hour. Boom. Yeah, so I mean, it definitely adjusts what you're able to play and what you do play. But then also, like, going to conventions, you meet a lot of awesome people, which I think is one of the most rewarding things because, like, for example, I was at Too Many Games, and there's, like, other games there that were also going for Boston Fig. And we're like, but we want to make it, but we want them to make it too. We want them to make it. We want them to make it because they're cool and we like them. And so it sort of builds this whole big family thing that you didn't have, where like everybody's super helpful with each other. Like, for example, Otakon, our artist Nate, who also on his own makes his own game, Welcome to Undercog, fully by himself because the man's insane, doesn't sleep. One of the developers that was coming, Pixel Please, they got into a really crazy car accident. They had an arcade machine version of their game shattered. He drove all the way 2 hours north to Jersey to then drive back to Baltimore with him. So it's like it's definitely a family thing that happens where.
Wait, that's the
You
weird
go-
thing is, Ben got in a car accident?
No.
I know the guys from Pixel Please.
Oh yeah. Ben from Pixel Please, or the other guy.
It's
One
a
of them.
family. It really is a family.
Yeah, one of them. I forget which one was which because I'm terrible with names. I won't remember any of your names because I'm an asshole.
It's strange. It's a supportive environment despite being really competitive.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I can't figure it out. Other than it's just a result of the people that are a part of it.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's like a lot of other industries are like very like Aflac. Like when I go to the office, I'm not friends with them. I see them as like we see each other as the enemy. Like, no, you got that sale on that business. I wanted that. So it's an entirely different world, and I like it.
Yeah. Community-wise, like what I've noticed is there's always a sort of tension. Like if you go to like a game developers meetup or even an IGDA meeting, and I'm an IGDA member, but I've noticed it is like, if you come with the like, I want to make games, like cool, like we'll kind of give you like the basic rundown of that.
But then a lot of these people.
But then like
don't.
in between the time that you express that interest and you make your first game, there's this kind of friction, where it's like, well, you're not really a game developer. Like I know you're trying and that's cool and let's be supportive, but like I've noticed in a few different groups where it's the you know, is this person competition? Is this person my friend? Are they going to ask me for free assets? Like, oh, well, you know, do you want to do some work for me for equity in the game later on? Like even for indie, like I'm not a fan of that anymore because I've been burned by that, and I think everyone gets burned by that kind of
that
agreement.
also it usually turns into a lot of time in.
Yeah.
And most games don't sell.
Oh
Just
God.
law of numbers or some math like that. You have a hand.
So Vern, you mean like the game doesn't sell and then you don't get anything out of it?
Oh, or like, so I did freelance audio design, and I still do.
Hit 'em
So
up
people
on
will say
Twitter.
like, hey, you know, I'll give you 10% of the game, or we'll sign a contract for something, or even like I've been paid like half up front, half on delivery, and I've only been paid up front, and then, oh, we're just not going to answer our emails and telephone calls and everything else. Yeah, and a friend of mine, he was actually Forbes like top 30 under 30 game developers. That's the guy that burned me.
Oh.
Yeah, and,
What a dick
and we went to grad
face.
school together. I'm like, wow, that's, I don't know, not naming his
So
name.
is there like legal recourse or totally not working?
There is, but
I didn't
What-
pursue it because it wasn't enough money to really like. Yeah. So
Exactly.
and the thing is, he's really smart, and I'm pretty sure he knew that. So for me, yeah, like so when someone's like, hey, you know, like I really like to use your sound because you know you heard my portfolio online or heard me talk somewhere. I was like, but, you know, I don't have a
But.
lot of money or I don't have this or that. I'm like, honestly, like I have stock sound effects that you can use. You can pay me a tiny amount. Like if you don't have a lot of money, like I'm indie, I'll work with you. But for the of I don't have money and I'll pay you later on, like no. That's not the way anyone should do business and really can do business. Like I don't have to eat well, but I have to eat.
Although, like, when you're first, like, starting out in the very, very beginning before you made anything, taking a chance on one or two of those, if you feel like...
If they're your good friends.
Yeah, like, if it's somebody you genuinely enjoy, and you're like, hey, best friend, we're going to make something, we're going to split it, this and this, then, yeah, then you're
That's a little
making something
different,
with
but yeah.
them, as opposed to you're being contract to do something you really don't give a damn about. Because, like, you get to a point where, like, you're working on enough of your own stuff, and everybody that at conventions will like, I have a great game idea, let's do it. No, we don't have time. And like, I mean, your idea might be amazing, but I won't have the same passion behind it because it's like you know what I mean. Like I can't fake passion, and like I mean I could clone if I could clone myself, then sure, I will work on everybody's game. But yeah, everybody has their own. Like every human has ideas, whether or not they say them to you. 50-50, but everybody has, which is great. I love that people have ideas.
I feel like that's. I mean, it's sort of moving off of on a. That's
Oh yeah, that was a
moving
totally
away
different
from
tangent.
Sort of what we're trying to talk about, but yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that a lot of people don't understand when they come to you and they don't do game development, but they have this one really crazy idea that's gonna like change everything. It's like an MMO, but it's Half-Life, and it's just. Everyone who makes games has a back catalog of hundreds, if not thousands, of ideas that, like, eventually, you know, we're gonna have the time to do.
Or it's Flappy Bird, but with a pterodactyl.
Right. I call it floppy dactyl.
And I mean, that's another thing is that when you
I see a hand.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt. So, to what extent would you say that like Kickstarter is a positive force in this market, or is Kickstarter somewhat controlling, are framing the types of games that are going to be funded and are limiting the amount of innovation that is possible?
Kickstarter. What do you want to?
It's a marketing platform.
But if you use Kickstarter as your exclusive marketing thing, it'll fail because like so the way Kickstarter works is in the first like couple days you have to reach a certain threshold to be featured on the front of their thing. So with Kickstarter you need an initial base of humans that will give you money outside of like random nerds, because like I've seen a lot of Kickstarters that are advertised exclusively at conventions with like no like family or friends backing it. Most of those fail, which God, I'm such a pessimist today.
Well,
You fail and your
do-
game
do you
fails, your Kickstarter.
You want to speak to
I
that?
have a thing about this. I mean, I've seen a lot of discussion right now about this sort of topic, like who does Kickstarter help? Does it help small indies? Does it hurt small indies? Does it only help larger indies? And I think the reality of the situation is it's just another tool, and you can choose to make use of it or you can choose not to. And the reality is that when you're looking at Kickstarter, you have to look at the game that you're making and see, is that something that people would want to pay money for in this way when they don't have that game done in the state it's in? Can you deliver them something that they're excited about? And that's why a lot of games that are coming out of that are sort of retro or look back at these niche games, because that player base is still there and they still want something like that, but they're not served by the sort of the traditional publishing model that goes for kind of shotgunning a mainstream audience to try and get as much radius as possible. So if you're trying to make something completely new that's never been done before, and disclaimer, I'm certain there are examples of this on Kickstarter, probably plenty of them at this point, of games that are just totally new, that have never been done before, that work really well. But unless you can really communicate that well to your audience, Kickstarter's probably not the platform for it. It's more of a platform for playing the songs that people want to hear.
Yeah.
And
That, and also Kickstarter and like Steam Greenlight too. I don't know, like the other day I saw the Gabe Newell simulator got greenlit, and that's an actual joke game. People are intriguing to me. Like the remember when Potato Salad got funded for like $50,000?
you have to let the flukes just, you can't focus on that.
Oh yeah, but like it always, like, I'm always intrigued by humans in general. I think it's interesting to see like something like that'll fund, but then something like there's a guy trying to do Warlock. It was a Warcraft 3 mod where it was like the arena and like it sort of shrinks and you're like Warlock shooting, trying like basically sumo wrestling but with like mages. That didn't fund, and it was a really awesome game idea that had a fan base of people that enjoyed it, but it wasn't enough to fund. So
So I would say I don't think it's adversely affecting indie games or the process of making them. And like my initial response was, it's a marketing tool, and that's pretty much exactly what it is. If you can manipulate it, and I hate to say it that way, but it really is manipulation.
Yeah.
If you know how to handle that tool, you can use it effectively to your own ends.
Yeah, like if,
like I wouldn't take my concept for my next game. Like, I'm working on a new game, and I really am. I would not take it to Kickstarter right now. I'm going to wait probably another 4 or 5 months at least until I have a really polished alpha that I've already paid for out of my own pocket to then show on Kickstarter to say, all right, I need this much money. Some of it I've already spent. The rest of it I need to finish the game, and I do. And this is what you're going to get. Like, because you can't go to Kickstarter with just your indie idea.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work. I mean, it literally does not work that way from the audience perspective
yeah, it's
anymore.
like a lot of people don't understand that this is a work in progress. When they see something, they want to see
they
a
wanna see
finished product. And so
We don't exist anymore.
Like that's one of the things about Kickstarter is that you have to take the risk on yourself to go off on your own. To everybody say hi. I'm sorry.
Hey.
So you have to take the risk to sort of like not work a second job to have the extra income or
do.
Huh? Or do.
You can still have a backup job. I think that still counts
well,
as being indie.
Well, I mean, you can. It's just you.
Right.
Like you have to work your hours, so you have to fire sleep. You have to say sleep. You're fired. Donald Trump. You're fired.
So that's kind of interesting. So Sean, are you Sean?
I'm Sean.
Sean.
Okay, what's your name?
Jonathan.
John. Okay. So you have a regular job,
Yes.
and you're fucking, you go home, and that's when you work on your games. And
Yes.
you have motivation to do that ever. Like, there are things I want to do at home that are loosely related to my job at work, and I just want to go and do other things. You know, like,
Me too.
So there's a
like they're talking about motivation all the time. Like, if you're not 110% in it, you can't do it. And you're like, well,
well.
free time I do.
Oh.
I think the key is that my day job is still kind of related to what I do in my own time. Like, I really love game development, and for me as a programmer, I can be flexible about the types of problems I'm solving. What's interesting to me is the solution, designing systems, building them that way. And then I have sort of my hobby where I am both programmer and designer. And towards motivation for that, I'd actually say that for me, it's, and I would say that this doesn't necessarily follow suit for everyone, but I tend to work with 1 to 2 other people that when I'm on something that I really trust and I really love their work and I'm really excited to work with them. So what will keep me motivated is I'll get home, open up my email, great, Eve's got the new sprite sheets for that animation sent to me. These look amazing. I have to put these in. So at least for what I'm doing right now and for what I've done in the past in my own time, it's the motivation of working with good people, and then for things that I'm doing wholly on my own, I can get lost in the weeds where I'll be building random tools that I might never need, but I want them to function very professionally. On a tangent, building this one set of tools I've been working on, I've had become obsessed with the appearance of certain windows, and I spent more time than I'm comfortable admitting trying to figure out exactly how to get them to appear exactly the same way as the default ones do, so that they look professionally like exactly part of the application. And so when I'm doing stuff on my own, I have to be careful not to give in to that sort of that OCD part of me. But with the things that I do, if I can have 1 or 2 other people working closely with me, it's the fact that those people are doing good work and I don't want to let them down that really keeps me.
I have a friend that he does some development at work, right? And then he has this project he works on the side. And for a long time, he was having a lot of trouble getting motivation to work on it, right? Like, it was really cool thing, a lot of low-hanging fruit. He really liked it. It wasn't until he had started getting sort of a user base for it that he described basically what you're describing, right? Where it's like, well, now I have these people who also have vested interest in it, and that's what gives me motivation to work on it.
That's absolutely true as well. There's something awesome about when you get the game to a point where you're not having to watch for fires. I tend to do a lot of my testing for these things at IGDA events, and I think everybody else could speak to this. It's really great when you get your game to a point that people are playing it and they're enjoying it, and once you know it's fun, you can go from there, and it's
Oh, yeah, then you've got
Yeah.
a lot of motivation, right?
so.
Yeah. So one of the ways I got that done quicker was, and everyone should do this if you're gonna make a game, is tabletop prototype, pen and paper. I have a canister of army men, dice, coins, a giant. It's actually like a rip sheet graph paper thing, like from old 1950s drafting kind of things. But I would take those to IGDA and Philly Game Forge meetings and have people play test my game before it was even digital. And I did that for about 3 months before we started actually putting it into Unity. And the games took 3 times longer than they do now. But I got instant feedback, and we had to. I think we went to about 12 iterations, pen and paper wise, before we got it to the point where people could play by themselves. I'd give them a little rule sheet, and they'd go. Yeah, this is a fun game. In fact, I call next.
Call next.
And then we went into digital, and we kind of took 4 or 5 steps backwards and had to work back up through it. But the feedback is kind of, I think, something that we all desire, is that kind of, is having people have fun with that. And tangentially, I used to bartend, and I got instant feedback. You like my drink? Thank you. Yes. Awesome.
No, it tastes like
that,
ass.
I've had that happen too.
0 out of 10.
But that's kind of the satisfying part of any sort of industry where you make something for consumers, is that you get that gratification, that feedback from people, and if you can find a way to get it quicker by prototyping, by taking it out, and you need to let people play your game in many different states. So not only do you get the feedback or the happy response, but you get the negative feedback that says I need to change something, which is it is more important. It's not as satisfying, but it's more important to actually get your game to where it needs to be.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
So I know this isn't really 100% applicable because it's very not indie, but
Porn.
I've been following Star Citizen like super closely. It's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems, like there's a lot of complaints, but since they're getting that feedback during development, you can make a better game. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would hope.
That is the hope.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so this is a tangent, and I think Star Citizen looks awesome, and when it's done, I will probably play the crap out of it if I'm able.
Right.
But my fear with that is that it's very much an idea that was crowdfunded, and I think something that consumers are starting to be let in on is that as you're making a game, it can change very radically. Halo, for more than half of its development time, was an RTS. And
so Halo Wars eventually came out.
well, it circles back around, but they came to the point where Bungie was making that, and they were like, this is not fun. We're not enjoying it. But we can zoom in, and the models, actually getting up closer to some of those smaller fights is neat. So then they made it a first-person shooter. And this one I'm not super sure about. Grain of salt. BioShock was originally an Obsidian-style RPG. You do a move, and then that animation plays, and then the big daddy enemy does an animation, and then you take damage, and it just wasn't fun. And then the thing about it is that with game developers, and it's Sid Meier, got to plug our local hero up in Baltimore.
Never heard of him.
Axis, big tactics.
Who even is that? What kind of garbage company is that? I don't even know. I'm just kidding.
His rule one for game development is find the fun. And the thing about it is that you can have an idea at first that you think is great, and then it cannot be fun, and then oftentimes your skill as a game developer can be realizing what about it is fun, and then maybe doing a complete pivot. SimCity was a level editor. It was a level editor for a different game. A game that wasn't fun. But the level editor was great.
So let's take that and make a fun thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Approved.
I'm trying to think. Fuck it. I'll destroy my game that just released. You should buy it anyway because it's only $5.
Buy it.
So
I did.
the still, and I don't know if we can change it in the way that it is now. But the worst part of my game now is the card creator. It's tangential. You don't need to do it. You can get cards through booster packs. You get them by completing levels. You do all these things. But you know what? We really want something where you can combine cards and make a new card. We think that'd be cool. The way that we did it doesn't really work. I mean, it works, but you have to figure out your own formulas, and you're supposed to experiment. And it was one of a later feature that we added, and we tested it. We thought it was cool, but we tested it with people knowing what the formula was. And once people had to figure it out, they're like, well, this takes a long time. I'm here to play the tactics part of the game, not to do the card creator. Shit. And actually what we did, and the way that we've circumvented that, and it's not the best, but we have all the formulas online on our wiki. And the way that it came out and say even on that was someone through Steam was like, hey, how do I find the formulas? How does this work? It takes a long time to figure it out. And I responded, and I'm on there at least 8 hours a day responding to Steam comments. Like, you know what? I'll
Seems
post it for you.
popular.
And then the upside of it is they're like, oh wow, the developers are so cool. Like they're willing to respond to this request and do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, man. This is kind of a crappy way that we did it. I'm sorry. But we were able to turn around just by being kind of responsive. But it was something, sadly, that we didn't look at enough before we released the game. Was this one little feature that I just hope people don't glare at us a lot for, because the rest of the game is really good.
So that's something that I don't think is emphasized enough a lot, but the community outreach for games. Like I played a lot of League of Legends, and as bad as many problems as there are with the game, something that's really cool is that you can go on the forums and stuff, and people involved with the game are reaching out and talking to people. Like they're familiar with what's going on, and it's, I don't know, as a player that feels good, right? Knowing that there are people looking around, there are people answering questions. So yeah, maybe your answer or your solution to the problem wasn't great.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're providing some sort of feedback is awesome.
Yeah, and it's. I love interacting with people that have played my game anyway. So and I've gotten the golden email of, oh my god, I love your game so much. I just played it for 8 hours straight, and I just want to tell you, I'm like, I know there's nothing I can do to help you, but thank you for inflating my ego just a little bit. Thank you so much, because that's gold.
I'd just be like, did you remember to eat? I don't want you to starve.
It's weird. I run a health and fitness thing for a bunch of volunteers for another conference, and I should have responded that way, but I didn't, because I was just like, but yeah, it's weird. Being responsive, especially as an indie, is key. To whatever the comment is, even if it's just a thumbs up or a like or a retweet or something, it kind of builds a lot of equity among your fan base and among what's the word, media.
That and fan interaction is important. It separates you from a AAA developer in that, because a lot of people are used to trying to deal with EA, who doesn't answer a damn thing in their whole life, who claims that they're fixing things, and
I claim I'm fixing things, but it just takes us a while.
Yeah, but we're respond individually to these humans who are like, whoa, a developer. Fun story, I was playing Rocket League and I was destroying this kid 20 or 12 to 1, and he was raging at me, and then I messaged him and said, you mad? And then I was like, I make video games. Here's my company. He was like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Oh, that's.
And so I got to use making video games as a way to teach kids to be a little bit mature on the internet machine.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And so all those sorts of interactions is very unique with being an indie game developer. Because I talk to people at Firaxis and other places. There's a lot of red tape as far as talking with fans and what you can and cannot say when being at a AAA studio. But as an indie, you don't have an HR person yelling at you.
Yeah.
I'm my own HR. I do whatever the I damn well please. You should check out Haberdashery's Twitter feed. A lot of questionable things that could probably offend people, and I'm okay with that. That's how I live my life.
That's an interesting point, though. Is what it is you say out loud.
Oh yeah.
Do you?
I feel like that's a totally
I don't have a filter.
thing.
It is
Yeah.
a very
I feel
different thing.
I
Segway. Come in. I see you out there.
Huh? Oh.
Baby, come back. Nice save. Safe.
I think it's a trade-off. On the one hand, when you're AAA, you have a marketing department that's doing their damnedest. Sometimes they do better than you do.
Always.
I mean, if you want to look at something like Dead Island, that is a game that sold because its trailer was incredible. And the game, not so incredible. Vehicle physics, questionable most of the time. Sometimes you fly
At
off
best.
into space when you hit certain walls or rocks or other
Nothing.
cars.
John.
Or nothing.
Jonathan, that is a feature. It's a feature.
The point is that the trade-off is that they're not supposed to be talking about that stuff because sometimes it could change, and when you have a fan base like they do that's the size that they are, they can latch on to something that they really like, and then when that thing has to change, the pitchforks come out. And so things have to be controlled very carefully when you're at that level. So when you're an indie, you
do
can
whatever you
be
damn well please.
looser, but you have to understand that you have to be doing that as another hat that you have to wear all the time. And I know I'm crap at it all the time. I don't tweet enough. I don't let other people know on platforms when I'm doing what. I could be streaming game development. I don't. I just don't.
Although
There's always more you can do, and there's always more you should be doing.
although when it comes to PR as an indie, there are definitely tools. Hootsuite. I set my tweets like 2 weeks in advance for haberdashery. Don't even touch it. I see a hand.
On the same note, what are some of the recommendations you do to market some of your stuff?
I use Hootsuite. Hootsuite. It's an app where like all the social media things you're able to sign on to all of them and schedule like tweets and Facebook posts for whenever you want them to be.
You can do Instagram, Tumblr.
Yeah, all of them. All of the various social tweety McJiggers.
So,
How do you have a dialogue with them in terms of
When people like respond to things, like I'll do that manually because like it goes to my phone, like it'll show me alerts. Like I'll do that, but as far as because like I too am really bad at like official things like screenshots. Because as indie you want screenshot Saturday. Our game
Reddit.
Oh yeah, with a Kickstarter back to that Reddit AMA like the first or second day is a really good idea because it brings a lot of awareness. You're not allowed to sell things, but you sort of mention that subtly, and you're fine.
I'm doing this thing. You can look at it here.
Yeah.
I do this. Ask me anything.
Yeah.
Did you see that thing I just...
Wink a face.
Yeah.
Wink a face.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually have a couple of friends that majored in marketing, and their interest is indie games, but they went to whatever university and like I majored in marketing. That sounds really important.
Will you be my slave?
And so they would give me stats like, well, you should be tweeting at least 3 times a day about your own stuff. But if you tweet 3 times a day, you have to repost or reblog or whatever at least 5 other things that are related in your industry but more popular.
Which actually is relatively easy if you get involved.
It's an average, but yeah, and I would follow people that do what I do, but also people that I'm interested in that are in related fields. And this is like for just our company Twitter. And then I'll have Hootsuite, and you could have Twitter just up, but all the streaming feeds of things that are going on, and that would be on a separate monitor. And I'll just look over occasionally and just hit retweet, like, retweet, retweet, like. It is.
Honestly, Hootsuite.
I would love to hire someone to do that.
Yes, I would love to work for you some.
And I would love to have the money to hire someone to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I have a ton of marketing experience now, and it's something you learn and you pick up. And actually, really, any skill that you have to get extra XP on, sorry, you.
It definitely helps you long term.
Like, don't ever be afraid to ask someone that does what you need, but you don't necessarily have the money for. They're not going to give you like a 12-hour rundown. They'll give you some hints and tricks.
Yes.
Of how often should I be tweeting? What social media? Also, if you post anything, let's say you guys are going to make something, any one of you, have a picture, have a screenshot, have something, because media that you don't have to read just does better. It's kind of a sad fact of our society now, but people read less.
Tweet at people, like do hashtags, like hashtag game dev, hashtag indie dev, hashtag made in Unity, screenshot Saturday is a big one. Like join the, like they always say, join the conversation. That's what you're doing. And then there's a lot of like Twitter bots out there that'll auto retweet some of those hashtags. Yeah. Which is useful. It's not super useful because it just is a drowning pool of things, but you're added to the pile, and then people do notice you, and then it's useful because people know, oh hey, there are indie game developers doing this thing, and like my game, we do Sexy Sheep Sunday, because you're a sheep with there's a bunch of different hats, so we have Sexy Sheep Sunday, which will go up tomorrow at noon because I already have it set. Oh god. So yes, so be creative, I guess is where I'm going with that.
By the way, I'll let you finish your point.
What were you gonna say?
Cheap or sexy?
If you want to look at what the end of the world
Nah.
is going to be like long after we've all left this planet or we've been annihilated, it's going to be Twitter bots retweeting other bots and favoriting other bots about amazing golf club offers. That's when aliens come and find our world as a tomb. That's going to be what they see, and they're going to have to piece together what this
There's
was
like-
based
There's
on
like,
that.
is there still life here? What? Have the robots taken over? Do they really like golfing?
Yeah,
Well-
it's weird. Bots are terrible. They're useful. It's kind of like sort of taking the same approach to Kickstarters. Use the tool. Like they're tools.
Yeah.
It's just you take advantage of them. Don't put a lot of thought into how they work. That they work.
Not too much. How about festival events like MAGFest and stuff like that? Do you guys ever, do you find it that if you actually get feedback, or it's better to set up, like for me, it's not a video game, it's a board game. So it's similar but not the same for, like, I don't have to do a demo on a screen, but I like set up a table and stuff.
I definitely highly recommend doing that at the main MAGFest in February or January, whenever they usually put it. Because like they have an indie section. At this one, there's a lot less people. I know that Haunsters was out there, had like a table randomly, but
But do you find that kind of stuff successful?
yes. Feedback from conventions. What up, DC Stunt Coalition?
Right.
Holla!
Right. That's the guy that pistol whipped me in the face last year. What's up, buddy? Yeah.
Oh, I did.
That's
Yeah.
handsome Jack.
But it wasn't me. That was Snake.
Right. The snake did it. Oh, you slashed his throat.
Nick.
Fuck yeah. Wait. There was an actual valid
Yeah,
question though.
Going
Wait.
back around to
Okay.
the thread, which was,
What was
Oh,
that?
is it useful?
yes,
Yes, very useful.
yes.
I
public
have
events,
I have a
definitely.
comment on it too, but so for me, not necessarily useful for sales. It is excellent for demoing and getting your pitch down. So,
and
it's-
making your game better. Like
Oh, yeah.
they
I
will
mean-
bring up things because you're staring at a screen for all the hours of the day, not noticing things. So I'm like, oh, this was crap. Fix it. Yes, you are correct. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you should do your user testing when you don't necessarily have to pay for it. Now, if you get an indie booth and it's paid for, awesome.
There
If you have to,
also
like-
are a bunch of conventions you go to for free. Otakon is free
Yeah.
booze. Otakon is free, has a free indie section. Awesome. Too Many Games was free, but like half the booze didn't show up. So this year it's 50, which is still actually pretty good. They have like 8,000 people. GameCon, which is this November, you should show there.
Too many booths,
Too Many Games.
too many games.
Yeah, Too Many Games, Otakon, GameCon. What else?
What kind of thing are we talking about?
Independent Games.
Different events that independent developers can go to and display things at for demo purposes and how
Dylan.
useful they are and what you do.
Did you get attention for that?
How many people were at Intervention this year? Then,
I didn't go.
oh,
I thought it was
I also didn't go to Intervention because it was crap last year. I'm sorry.
boring.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I don't know if it relates to the gaming stuff.
I hosted a game jam there last year, so there's two people that did it, and
That's all you need for a focus group.
yeah. And neither of them completed a game, so I kept the prize.
Did you ever?
I did want to come back around
I'm
to
a dick.
To the public event. So I definitely agree with what he was saying. For your sort of earliest user testing, definitely don't be paying at booths for larger spaces for that.
Like, definitely don't go to PAX unless you have like a game that's basically done.
It's released or
Well,
almost.
a
Actually
game that
released.
people can play without experiencing bugs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to have all levels in it. It just needs to have like a functional demo experience.
Yeah.
But it's very important.
Like one or two levels.
You don't want people to be playing that game when there's a bug where sometimes when you jump the game crashes. Definitely be past that point
Also-
in the process.
Yeah.
And same goes with like clipping errors. You don't want people to walk into a rock and then get stuck and have to reset the game.
Yeah, just
Whatever the corollary word is.
yeah. game-breaking bugs you want to iron out, and then for different events, it's definitely useful. It's super great to try and be at as many things of these as are possible. My one caveat to that is that I do a lot of different conventions. That's the time where I get to show off the stuff that I've been working on to people. This last year, for example, I did Otakon. Before that, I did Gamescape, which is Artscape in Baltimore. It has a section for that. Then I did a couple of IGDA showcases, and then
those are fun. Get involved with.
Circles back around. But try to leave yourself, if you can, like a con where you get to just be at a con. Like, you can lose perspective, and it's a totally different side of things, and it's fun, but it's also exhausting. And so I will reserve normal MagFest as the con that I go to, and to be a person at a con. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to get your feedback on stuff. I'm here to get drunk and hang out in the land room.
That is amazing advice. Always save yourself a convention to just have fun at, and because for morale and because you go to cons because you enjoy them, they're fun. When you're running a booth, it is work. You'll be exhausted.
Oh, that.
I mean, it's a lot of fun because
like-
you interact with people.
I like speaking on
but
panels.
Well, panels are fun.
yeah, you lose your voice a lot. So
if you're running something, a booth, an exhibitor table, or you're demoing stuff, like that's a lot of effort to expend. Now, the plus side is that if you're working with a couple other people, you can alternate. So your game isn't missing out on an event, but you have the luxury to.
oh yeah, bring minions. If you have minions, bring them. And
That's more mouths to feed.
but it's
Yeah, that and like
Somebody
there's
that brings, like,
a lot of times if you're traveling, like I live in Atlanta.
So
if I were to go to PAX
you-
East, I doubt my
So
whole team can make
you,
it.
Mr.
You can. What's the great?
oh yeah, no, she's in charge.
You can find
You're a
people that'll help
minion.
out for a pass.
Yeah.
And
So
I have
her.
a friend that does that as a retail exhibitor, vendor. And it's you can pick up people in local towns to help you out at your booth for just these of a pass. Like, all right, I just need you for 4 hours during the day so I can pee and get lunch, which is super critical when you're at your booth all day.
Yep.
Yeah, that and like so you bring your company. If your girlfriends are if you have girlfriends reliable and
Or
that's
boyfriends.
awesome, or
Significant
boyfriend, whichever, significant other, bring
They.
them. If you have like people who for example, if you're making a game, bring your sound guy that you got to do a few sounds. Bring your guy that did your UI. Bring your guy that QA tests. And there's a guy actually that we have that all he does is he will break a game within 5 minutes. It's really impressive. Every single game we've given him, even some actually released games, he will break within 5 minutes. It is uncanny. He is a special man. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, so bring those people. If you're involved with a game club or the IGDA of Baltimore or whatever IGDA you'd be a part of, say, hey, do you want to come to a convention with me and have a pass to sit at a booth for a little bit? That's a good idea.
Actually, just a question: are we an hour long?
Oh yeah, we're an hour long.
Okay.
Wow, we have 3 minutes left.
Right.
All right. Quick. Additional questions.
Yes.
One word answers. Go.
$1 million, how do you make it?
Sell your body.
I'm not worth that much.
Repeatedly.
have faith in
more than
yourself.
once.
Come on.
So,
Persistence, endurance,
Uh,
determination, and sheer dumb
Yeah,
luck.
not that part of your body.
So 6 times a day for however many days.
Can we get a scheduling, like an app for that or something?
She can handle all the appointments, and you can
All right.
do the work.
You want to do next question then, or
Next question.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Do we have any other questions? Smart remarks.
No.
closing statements? I guess.
Yeah. Or final thoughts?
Yeah,
Kind of Jerry Springer it. Do you want to lead
I
off?
honestly
You
thank
have
you
30
guys
seconds.
for coming out. Yeah, that's the best part. That means we can say this was awesome. Did you guys have fun? Yeah. So that means we can do this at main MagFest and other conventions too.
Awesome.
That sound good to you guys? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to.
I
Do you want to?
there there are definitely some
like
other
going
panels
down
I want to do. With Nate who does the art. He did a panel called "Hiding Dixon Games: Why Inside Jokes Are a Must in Game Development." We'll probably do that at MagFest Prime, or whatever they call it, main MagFest. They stopped numbering them, so it's like 2016. So I'm like, oh. So yeah, we'll probably do that there. So check it out. I'm Jeremy from Lunawolf Studios. There's my Twitter. Lunawolf Studios at Twitter that's what it is, and Sheep and Hats for haberdashery. I like indie games and making them, and if you have help or advice or questions or want to do stuff together, Twitter at me. I will answer
Yeah.
within a reasonable time.
So yeah,
Maybe.
within that spirit.
But I'll definitely answer though. Promise, super promise.
Cool.
Within that spirit.
Oh no! So within
I
the spirit,
feel your spirit.
and I feel the same way, especially talking about the indie community. Tweet at me if you guys have questions. I tell anyone that I meet that's actually interested in doing indie games is, reach out and ask. I have my business card up here and pens with our game on it. So feel free to grab one. But it's a hard process if you put your life on the line. Definitely a better way to do it is maintain a day job.
Yes. Don't quit your day job.
And I
Unless you
did
have
do
a
that for a while. I was a bartender, so I could bartend at night, game dev during the day.
Unless you have like a sugar mama or a sugar daddy or something, then
Sugar babies.
yeah, be a sugar baby, I guess.
But
It's
it's
the life to live.
honestly, it's one of those things. If it's the kind of thing that you like to do, and you feel like it's not stressful but it's rewarding, then it's absolutely worthwhile.
Yeet.
To recap, I mean, it's already up there. I would say that take advantage of the resources that are available to you. Be aware of the community because there's a lot of great resources that you can take advantage of. For example, if you want to release your game in different areas, you want to do some kind of localization, well, there's now just a giant spreadsheet online of localizations of common game phrases that are just publicly available to the community. There's so many great resources to take advantage of, so many great events you can go to, and so many great organizations. Shameless plug, IGDA, shameless plug.
Do it.
I'm a member.
I am a board member on that IGDA Baltimore, and I'm from Delaware. Are you
It's games. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
specifically video games.
video games, board games,
Gaming games.
drinking games?
Yeah, it's international
Drinking
game
Quest.
developers, although it does skew heavily towards video games, in my experience. But board games are sort of in that new renaissance
So
right now.
you would be unique, and people are like, what? It's not a video game? I can play this when the power's out? Yes, I want to play.
We are at time.
Yep.
Yeah, time is out.
Thank you
All right.
for coming out.
Thanks for coming
guys.
out. Stay classy.